It's hard for me to evaluate the deep psychology of those men, but as far as I can tell, they're threatened by anybody that doesn't fit into their perfect paragraph on their black and white crisp.
Yeah, I don't know much about those men's deepest thoughts, but from what I can tell, anyone who doesn't fit into their perfect black and white crisp makes them feel threatened. Breaking news just now revealed that FBI agents have officially found a secret bunker underground under Eustace Conway's Turtle Island Preserve. People used to call this man the last American man. He has lived alone for decades and taught thousands of people how to survive and live in the wild world. But what the FBI found under his land may make us question everything we thought we knew about him. Sources say the body was found early this morning after an unmarked vehicle showed up at his unmarked mountain in North Carolina. People in the area watched as agents surrounded the house and brought in big tools. Within hours, a metal hatch that had been hidden under the forest floor was found. It led to a hidden network of tunnels that went deep underground. People who were there say the agents' faces turned pale as soon as the first door opened. Everyone wasn't ready for what Eustace was hiding down there. The truth about what's under Turtle Island is more scary than you can think, so make sure you watch until the end. People looked up to Eustace Conway for many years as a modern-day pioneer, someone who gave up the comforts of modern life to live like our ancestors did. His Turtle Island Park became a safe place for people who wanted to live a simple life. A place where kids learned how to live off the land and make fire by hand. But behind that public face, something else was taking shape in the background. People in the area started talking about strange things happening near the park. The sound of heavy machinery could be heard in the woods long after it got dark. Huge loads of concrete and steel were brought in under tarps. Later, one truck driver said that he was told not to ask any questions and only to unload and leave. The noise was Eustace's excuse for simple upkeep work when asked about it. But a few months ago, satellite images showed that the ground had strange geometric shapes that were too well organized to be native. Cybercriminals thought there might be a secret storage place or even a fallout shelter. But now that the FBI has found out about it, it's clear that this was much more complicated. The bunker's entry was hidden by moss and stones that made it look like a fake part of the creek bank. It looked so much like the surroundings that even trained detectives missed it during earlier checks. The question that everyone is thinking about right now: why would a man who preached openness and living in peace with nature build something so secretive and industrial on his land? Officials have hinted that federal police first learned about the spot when a confidential source gave them proof of illegal underground construction. Beginning as a simple zoning violation, it turned into a full-scale government investigation. Reports say that Eustace was not to be found when the police came. His cabin was empty, with food still on the counter and a half-written note in his diary by his bedside. It ended with the simple phrase, "When they come, the mountain will decide who stays." The FBI's dig team moved in as dawn broke over the Blue Ridge Mountains. Under layers of pine needles and dirt, officers found a round steel hatch that looked like it was made for the military. It was welded shut, and the doors were made stronger so they could handle a blast. The first cover had to be broken for almost 3 hours. Finally, the door opened, letting out a rush of cold, metal-smelling air that had been stuck inside. The spies were stopped in their tracks by what they saw inside. The entrance tunnel dropped quickly into darkness and was lined with thick walls of concrete and copper. There are wires going through the roof like veins. With the help of flashlights, shelves of sealed jars with numbers going back more than 20 years were found. As you went deeper inside, the passageway split into several corridors that led to different areas that seemed to have different functions. One area looked like a control room because it had generators, switch panels, and battery banks that were driven by electricity from the sun and water. In another room, emergency foods, medical supplies, and dried goods were carefully stacked from floor to ceiling. But it wasn't the goods that made the police nervous. There were old maps and hand-drawn plans spread out on a central table. They showed not only Turtle Island but also a few other places nearby. Each county was marked with scribbled notes and coded symbols, such as Phase 1 Perimeter, Signal South, and Reinforce Line. Agents started to think they might have found something much bigger than a survivalist's storage area. They found encrypted notebooks in a locked cabinet. The pages were full of locations and information about containment, surveillance zones, and starting an emergency. It was hard to understand what it all meant. In later interviews with a local news outlet, one officer said, "It looked like the kind of place someone built not to survive nature, but to survive something else entirely." As the investigators went deeper, they saw that the bunker was much bigger than anyone had thought. It had several levels carved right into the rock. When the FBI got to the second level of the cave, even the most experienced agents said they had never seen anything like it. The more they dug, the stranger it got. The top floor, which had food, tools, and survival gear, seemed useful. The lower level, on the other hand, felt more scientific. Along the walls were glass cases that held preserved animal parts, soil samples, and tags that had been written by hand. Some were marked with names of species that can only be found in that area. In the middle, there was a makeshift lab table with microscopes, notebooks, and vials marked with weird codes like S3B and W12 strain. But what really worried the police was an open notebook lying next to a dim light. There were pages inside that talked about ecosystem wild species can be protected by keeping them separate and reintroducing them in a controlled way. A person who wasn't paying attention might have thought it was notes from a biologist, but the spies saw signs of something much bigger, maybe even an experiment. They found communication tools nearby, including shortwave radios, encrypted transmitters, and antennas linked to a long cable that went up the mountain and might have led to a hidden listener outside. It seemed like Eustace had formed his own network below ground. One agent thought he might have been picking up frequencies and using them to listen in on government lines or even talk to other people without their knowledge. Tapes with the numbers Intercept A through Intercept H were stacked next to the transmitters, but the area had to be sealed off by the government before officers could look at them. Whatever was written down remains not known to this day. Everyone was shocked when they saw a steel door at the far end of the bunker that was shut. It had a fingerprint reader and a biometric keyboard. No one expected to find so much technology in a home for survivalists in the woods. The head agent told them to open it. As they cut through the lock, sparks flew and the sound of metal grinding filled the tunnel. As soon as the door finally opened, every flashlight beam stopped on what was inside. One anonymous source said that the sight changed the tone of the whole probe. The officers had never seen anything like the room behind the heavy steel door. It was less big, colder, and lit up by a single bulb that flickered and buzzed behind them. Along the concrete walls were old VHS tapes, reel-to-reel audio players, and worn-out boxes with dates written by hand. Some names have been around since the early 1990s. But what really scared the investigators were the names that were written next to the times. These were the names of people from nearby counties, some of whom had not been seen in years. The tapes were taken away right away, and agents started playing back the first few loops on an old projector that they found nearby. Long, uninterrupted clips of the nearby woods were shown, some at night and others during rainstorms, but they were always taken from secret spots. Sometimes, someone would show up in the picture without realizing it, being caught on camera. The camera would zoom in, stay still, and then cut out all of a sudden. On some reels, the letters EC were written, while on others, numbers came after the word subject. Leaks that haven't been proven true say that several frames show federal officers surveying Turtle Island many years ago. Maybe proof that Eustace had been being watched himself. That wasn't all, though. One of the boxes had maps with red string going between them that showed how to get to faraway places across the Appalachians. Each point had the word node and a number next to it. Investigators think these could be clues to other underground places that were made using the same design. Along one wall was a table with hundreds of Polaroids of animals, the sky at night, and sometimes people. Faces. But the last group of pictures looked like they were planned. Figures standing in a clearing and arranged in symmetrical patterns as if they were part of an old rite or a secret message. Officials won't say what those pictures mean, but a worker who spoke on the condition of anonymity said that the last tape showed things that we will never be able to forget. After that, all the proof from the bunker was sealed up and taken to a secure storage area. The public wasn't supposed to know what Eustace wrote down there. In the days after the bunker was found, the investigation turned into a full-on operation involving federal and state police.